Suddenly I was 38 and it was time to be an adult. I was married and living in a little house in North Minneapolis. My wife and I scraped out a living from my freelance acting and directing and her freelance dancing and teaching, and it was enough. We enjoyed married life, which consisted of quiet dinners and gardening together and binge watching 6 Feet Under. We felt that's all there was to it. Then we discovered there was more to it. Now, we had planned for a baby, so it wasn't a surprise to have one. Everything that happened after that, though, all a surprise. It started when we left the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital to have the baby, there was always somebody there to take care of us. The baby came, and there was always someone with an answer whenever I'd ask, "How do I work this?" They seemed to know everything about babies. We got the feeling the baby had come from them. Then they led us to the front door of Abbott Northwestern and left us there with their baby. We brought him home and life began. Now, there's a lot of sitting in chairs at the beginning. I would sit there and I'd rock him and I'd hold him and I'd kiss him and I'd kiss him and I'd kiss him and I'd kiss him. It was just overcome. I had this feeling like I wanted to eat him up. You know it would be a bad idea to eat him up. I want to. I looked at him and I thought, this little creature means more to me than me. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think it was possible for anything to mean more to me than me. This is a new feeling. Night after night, I'd rock him to sleep. So peaceful. Except for all the terror. How am I going to do this? I don't make enough money for this. I can't support this little guy on this. I wanted to have a childhood like I had, like in the suburbs, like with a yard and everything. We have to move to the suburbs. That's the only answer. We've got to move to the suburbs. I know everybody says you lose your soul if you move to the suburbs. You'll be driving a minivan and eating at Applebee's. But that's ridiculous. I grew up there. We drove a Volare and ate at Mr. Steak. It's normal. I've had my fun being a freelance artist, living gig to gig, but I can't support this little guy on that. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I grew up in Long Lake, Minnesota, on Glendale Drive, right on the line between the burbs and the farm. You could play all day with your friends outside, get a ring of dirt around your neck, and then retire to your shag-carpeted living room at night to watch the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Paradise. My parents bought that house in 1968 for $19,500. A nice 2-story Rambler, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, finished basement, nice yard, about 1,800 square feet, totally normal for that area. It was the great American dream house. Large enough for a family, small enough to afford. My dad was a high school teacher, and he was just starting his career at that time, and his annual salary was $6,500. Yeah, nice, modest salary for a nice, modest house. Now, that was the house where my childhood happened. There was no difficulty in my childhood. I'm sure I could come up with something that sounds like a struggle, but I was a white kid in the Minnesota suburbs in the 1970s. Nothing was hard. It was the best possible world to grow up in. Safe neighborhood, nice neighbors, and my mom had a hot meal on the table every single night. My dad knew how to grill. He liked grilling. And the entire extent of his cooking knowledge began and ended with grilling. He knew how to take that meat out to the grill. He knew how to put it on the grill. And he knew how to watch it grill. And he knew when to turn that meat over. He usually had a drink in his hand when he was grilling because this was relaxing time. My dad saw any time after 5 p.m. as relaxing time. He'd get himself a scotch, he'd go to his grill, and he'd relax. While my mom cooked everything else. Except, wait, my dad did make salads. He would take the lettuce out of the fridge, wash it in the sink, put out some paper towels, pat it dry. Then he'd cut up the radishes, the tomatoes, and the peppers in that order. And he would assemble a salad for himself and my mom. Not for my brother and I, because it's a salad. He did these things the same way every single night. Routine was safety. My dad organized his nails and washers and screws by size and kept them in little baby fruit jars. We're talking Olympic level structure here. Now there's a story that you learn when you grow up like I did, and it goes like this. Be a good person, work hard, and one day you'll live your life with your family in your nice house too. Yep, the totally privileged middle class story. Not everybody's story, but that's what they told me. And so that's what I wanted for my little boy too. I'd been away from that feeling of warmth, predictability, and safety that I had growing up for so long because I've been pursuing the unpredictable life of the artist. It was time to find home. Now the going price for a house, nice suburban house, when we were looking, was between $250,000 and $350,000. A far cry from the $19,500 my parents paid. And incidentally, I looked up that house that I grew up in, the actual house on Zillow, and they have it for $317,000. Exact same house. No fancy additions, nothing. And remember, when my parents bought that, my dad's beginning teacher's salary was $6,500, a third of the house price. So what, do all the beginning teachers in the suburbs make over $100K now? No. So how does anyone do this? But anyway, the word house refers to a building, and the word home refers to a state of being. This was an important distinction that I hadn't quite made yet. I just expected to walk into a house and find warmth, predictability, and safety the minute we moved in. Where was I going to find that? I looked in the place that's the manual for the middle-class life, the Pottery Barn catalog. Oh, the seductive power of the Pottery Barn catalog. There's the life I want. The life with a certain rustic charm while maintaining a contemporary sophistication. That's what I want. Yes, I want to wake up in rooms of white with wide plank floors, looking at foliage through windows framed with feather-like curtains that sway in the breeze. That's all I want. Yes, I just want the life with a kitchen that resembles a French farmhouse, suggesting I may know which cheese to pair with a robust Bordeaux. That's what I'm looking for. We looked in Egan, we looked in Shoreview, Roseville, Minnetonka, St. Louis Park, Golden Valley, Hopkins. We looked everywhere. We looked at 100 houses that summer, and in every one of them, I would try to visualize my future life. Is this the life I want? The life with a window that looks at that tree? Can I see myself in this life, the life with 3 bedrooms on the upper level? Will I find fulfillment with those cabinets? The trim isn't white. My children can't thrive here. Then we went to an open house in Maple Grove. We walked in the entryway, and we looked through a sunroom at a pond with trees. To the right, convenient access to the garage. To the left, up a half flight of stairs, the great room. This is the room where you put all the furniture no one can ever sit on. There was a big bay window looking out over that pond with trees, and then the agent told us the stats. It's 3,000 finished square feet, 4 bedroom, 3 bath, and there's a family of ducks that makes its nest in the backyard. We looked around, vaulted ceilings as high as the sky, and open kitchen layouts so everything would flow for all the entertaining we'd be doing. There was a sliding glass door to an upper deck. Then we went downstairs, completely finished lower level with an adjoining master suite. The master suite stretched 25 feet, and it had its own master bathroom with heated tile floors. Heated tile floors! For all those mornings when you did not want to feel the icy pang on your toes when you dressed for your important job in a glass office. That master suite was so big, you could have a completely different experience on one side of the room from the person on the other side of the room. Your spouse could be doing some crafting while you read the financials. We looked around. White trim, solid body doors, a whole separate part of the house, a mother-in-law's apartment, that I could use as my executive office, complete with its own kitchen, its own bathroom, and a skylight. Then the agent uttered 4 words that changed my life. With these 4 words, she opened the solid body door to a new world. One filled with such bucolic harmony, such transcendence, that I was struck dumb. She said, "And there's a pool." In a daze, I went to the window and I looked out and saw the rectangular dent in the snow. There's a pool! A 22,000-gallon in-ground pool. And there's a pool! We bought that house. We bought that house for almost twice what we were selling our North Minneapolis house for, but I wanted it. I thought, we can raise our son here. And I wanted it for myself too. Yeah, I wanted to come into that entryway and look out over my pond, my pool, my trees. I wanted to stand in my executive office while coffee brewed in my private kitchen. I wanted to traverse the landscape of my master bedroom in my robe. I wanted to roam all 3,000 finished square feet knowing it was mine. I was ready to start the next great chapter of my life, the chapter where I own stuff. Now, owning stuff would require money. As luck would have it, I knew how to get some. A few years before this whole Maple Grove house thing, a big, huge life insurance company hired me for a series of videos to play fictional sales agent John Russell, because I looked the part. In the videos, the friendly married couple would answer the door, invite me in, and then we would sit at the dining room table to discuss their impending death. But first, there was the warm-up. Paul, Susan, you've done a wonderful job with this house. Susan, great job in the living room. Paul, you'll have to show me the garage later. This was intended to get the couple thinking about all the things they owned and how terrible it would be to lose those things. Then we would launch into what Big Huge Life Insurance called the need creation part of the video. Paul, Susan, I would like to discuss tragic misfortune. Would that be okay? Great. Paul, I know things may seem secure with your job at the plant right now, but what if you were to become disabled? Would Susan be able to pay the mortgage on her librarian salary? I didn't think so. Susan, if Paul were to become disabled, or, God forbid, died, where would you live? At my sister's place? Mm-hmm. And how would that be? Okay, for a while. And after that? Susan, I'm here to help. Do you know the difference between term and whole life insurance? John Russell was the perfect mixture of friendly neighbor and Lucifer. Exactly what Big Huge Life Insurance needed their sales agents to be. And apparently, I hit the mark in these videos. They were sending them all over the country, teaching their field agents about things like handling objections and outlining beneficiary options. Then I found that I was having a whole separate effect on the sales staff. On one of the breaks in shooting on the 3rd video, Vice President of Marketing Larry Thorpe came up to me. "David, you are so convincing in these videos. We're sending them all over the country, and the managers are telling the guys, when you do the sales presentation, be like that guy in the video because he's so convincing. So I'm thinking that you go around the country and teach our guys about being convincing like you are in the video. Will you do that?" All right, folks, I had never done anything like that before. I had heard about actors doing corporate training and events and stuff, but always as actors. They would act out scenes about conflict resolution in the workplace, stuff like that. He was asking me to teach life insurance agents acting to close sales. I had taught acting to high school kids. I taught acting as a freelance teaching artist. I did not know how to teach acting to people who did not want to be actors. I had no idea how to do what he was asking me to do. So I looked at him and said, "Yes, I will." Great, let's meet next week. Whoa, okay, so I looked up everything I could about actors doing corporate training. I read everything I could. I called all over the country to find out what this thing should cost, and it turns out the day rates for this type of thing are somewhere between a truckload and a shitload. Right in there. So I thought it would be wise to come with some sort of a plan for the training. So level 1, beginner. Level 2, intermediate. Level 3, advanced. He wanted to meet at his favorite bar in Golden Valley, and I got there early and found a spot. And that's when I noticed a poster on the wall. It was one of those vintage liquor posters, a drawing of a lithe figure, green against an all-black background. He had a spiky tail and pointy facial features, and he was holding out a glass. I was looking at a picture of the devil who was offering me a glass of luscious, luscious elixir. Then Larry came and sat right underneath it.
David, I'm so excited about this. I think it'll really help. I think if our guys just, acted better, their ratios would go up, way up. Ratio of what?
I couldn't agree more, Larry.
Great! So I'm just thinking we put together some sort of classes for them, where they learn about body language, how to use their voice. I think their ratios will go up, and it'll get them off the leads. They are lead junkies right now. What do you think?
Yes, I think yes.
All right, so how do we do this?
Well, Larry, let me ask you this. How good do you want your field agents to be?
Good question, good question. I want them to be leaders. I want their ratios to be in the 70s, maybe even the 80s by year end.
I know we can do that, Larry. So in order to get them that good, how do you see this unfolding?
Yeah, okay, all right. I think we go around first with a first level, call it beginner. Then we go for a deeper dive on a second level, call that level intermediate. Then we go around for a third level for the guys who really want to get to gold circle at convention, and we'll call that level advanced.
You mean something like this?
You have a gift! Amazing! Called Sally on Monday and put together a contract for the first year. I knew I saw something in you!
Yeah. And I looked up at that smiling green devil. I had just made a deal for a contract that would pay me more for 4 weeks of work than I usually earned in a year. I had what I wanted, but that smiling green devil just kept looking at me, offering me that glass of luscious, luscious elixir. I turned away. It was just a poster. I went on the road with Big Huge Life Insurance, and soon I would expect this experience every single time I traveled. A man waited at the bottom of the escalator in baggage claim with a sign that said, David Mann, my driver. I followed the David Mann sign guy, got my bag, and we went to a town car where I got in the back, and there was a bottle of water and today's newspaper waiting for me. Silently, we drove to the hotel. I got out, went into the hotel, and there was an acre of marble lobby with reception at the other end. Hello, David Mann. We've been expecting you. Your room is prepared. How's the 28th floor? Good. That's good, right? I got my key card, went to my room, and I opened the door. Contemporary with a classic flair. Artwork you would actually put in your house. A small bathroom in the entryway. The lounge area had a 60-inch television and 2 couches, a bar with martini glasses displayed on a tray, fresh flowers, an array of snacks. Through the French doors, there was the bedroom with another 60-inch television and a plush bed that offered itself to me like a sensual embrace. My corner room looked out over the city in 2 directions at once, suggesting I might be its supreme ruler. The bathroom was larger than most hotel rooms I had stayed in while on tour with educational Shakespeare shows. Every surface was marble. There was a jacuzzi on one side, a glass shower on the other side, and on a silver hook there hung a white robe. It was heavy and thick, making me feel safe just looking at it. On the counter there was an array of necessities, shampoo, conditioner, and shower gel in little glass bottles with little glass stoppers. There was sewing kit and shoe polish in little boxes with embossed labels, an array of elderberry soaps wrapped in paper with pleats, and a pair of terry cloth slippers. This place really cared about me. The next day I was on. I walked to the front of the room and looked out over a room full of life insurance agents. Some were veterans, some were new to the field, but they all had one thing in common. They were required to be there. Their regional manager, Mitch, introduced me. Yeah, we got Dave Mann here. You know him as John Russell from those videos. Big, huge home office is sending him around the country to teach us about acting better on our appointments. He's going to teach us how to use our hands and our voices and that type of thing better so we can all make more money. Here he is, Dave Mann. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Let's just start with this. A good salesperson is just like a good artist. Virtually the same thing. When I'm on stage playing Hamlet, taking the audience on a journey, that is exactly the same as what you do. Client is your audience, and your sales presentation is your script. We're going to explore that today. And then later we're going to do your sales presentations, which I'm going to call rehearsal. And remember, it's all safe space here. All safe space. And I went on and on and on, dead silence. I got to read their body language. For subsequent sessions around the country, I quickly learned to ditch the Hamlet and make it all about them, just like John Russell would have done. Big Huge Life Insurance had me on the road for 4 years. And every year they paid me more money but did not require more time. So in the middle of all that, we bought that Maple Grove house. Woo! Our little guy grew from a toddler to a kid, and we bought stuff to fill up that house. So much stuff. Pillows complemented the curtains which matched the knickknacks. We bought new furniture, all designed to dazzle the eyes of guests we never had because we had a small child. But no matter, we still felt the need to purchase a cabinet with glass doors to display our glass items. But only the clear glass items. The green glass items were on top of the cabinet, and the blue glass items were distributed on various end tables around the great room. We had a stainless steel kitchen trash can, because stainless steel fridge. We had a whole collection of knives whose only purpose was to cut cheese. And 2 remote control gas fireplaces. Oh, yeah. Our place really did resemble a catalog. Pottery barn mixed with restoration hardware with just a dash of Williams-Sonoma. And for some reason, I did not feel the same way I felt when I looked at the pictures in the catalogs. All right, I told myself. It'll come. Just keep bringing in the money. So I went around the country doing that life insurance presentation for hundreds of life insurance agents. And I got better. Keep eye contact. Articulate. Start with a story. If they cross their arms, lean back to take the pressure off. If you can get them to invest emotionally, they will invest financially. You can do this. I could have been a top producer myself. I started to care about their sales ratios and their stick rate. Guys would call me sometimes and say that they closed 4 clients last night because they tried something we worked on. And I went to 5 of their conventions, and sometimes the agents would thank me from the stage when they achieved gold circle status. I was truly part of the family, the big, huge family. And meanwhile, I had my own family. This is when I was really settling into being a dad. I'd put on my baseball cap and my socks with sandals. And I'd drive my minivan to Target. Then right around 5 o'clock every day, I'd be instinctively drawn to the kitchen where I would pour myself a drink and start making a salad. Then I'd want to grill. So I'd go out to the grill with my baseball cap and my drink, and I'd relax. I'd tell myself, I'm relaxing, because this is relaxing time. And I'm in my nice house, and I am a dad, relaxing. Then another baby came, and relaxing time was over. When the first one came, it was like, my son, the magnificence. And for the second one, it was a little more like, okay, baby, that's good, good, baby, good. Not that it's any less magnificent, it's just that it's sort of like the second time you ride the Renegade at Valley Fair. You know what you're getting into. And you haven't slept in 5 years. Then, with almost no notice, Big Huge Life Insurance decides to close down the entire division I was working with. So after 4 years of Gravy Train City, I was out. I had to figure out what to do now. I had a lot to think about, and there was a lot of time to do this thinking because our little one did not sleep through the night for the first 2 years. Yeah. He would usually sleep if you put him in the back of the van and drove him around, though. So I'd find myself at 3 a.m. driving around with a lot to think about. I'm 44 years old. What do I know how to do? I can do plays, I can teach Big Huge Life Insurance guys, and I can wait tables. But holy shit, this house! Why did we buy this house? Can we move to a smaller place? I don't think so. We have a glass cabinet with our glass items. And there's college to save for, and there's insurance to pay for. But isn't this just what normal people do? Normal people just do this. I mean, my parents did this. Why can't I do this? I have to get busy. And then I keep thinking all the way into the summer when I'd stroll the little guy around the neighborhood. I'd put him in the stroller and we'd walk through the neighborhood early in the morning, just dadding the little guy. And he didn't seem to need a thing. He would just hold on to his sippy cup and look around, perfectly content. I didn't want to disturb him. Now that is a nice entryway. I bet they added that. Really frames the doorway nicely. I bet they have perfect lives. Their kids speak fluent Portuguese and do community service work on Saturdays. You can tell, look how neat their hostas are. You know that there's a chart inside that house with everybody's chores listed in blue marker with little check marks. And all the kids do their chores happily. We're going to get an estimate on an entryway just like that. Maybe without those columns, though. Ooh, wraparound porch, yeah. We should do that. We could have a graduation party there in 17 years. Yeah, graduation party, wraparound porch, lemonade, people chit-chatting. You know these people do that. You know these people have a healthy portfolio. Nice array of diversified stocks. They're going to be able to retire and live off the dividends just like those silver-haired people in the Merrill Lynch pictures. We can do that. There's a good chance no one in this neighborhood has ever put any serious thought into the works of Brecht. Clay, tiles, shingles. Oh, wow. More expensive up front, but they last. Good idea. That house has got to be $750,000. What do they do for a living? Straight commission sales, maybe software or something? Personal injury lawyer, maybe? Franchise owner with a dozen shops? Could be. I gotta get busy. So without Big Huge to rely on, I was gonna have to market this myself. But how do you do that? It's not like you can just put a card on a table and hope for the best. So I was gonna have to network, starting with the Chamber of Commerce. Now, if you've never been to a Chamber of Commerce business networking event, it's not like a theater event at all. This is a theater event. Oh my God, hi! We don't know each other at all, but I love you. What are you working on? This is a Chamber of Commerce business networking event. Hi, I'm Glenn. What do you do? Oh, hi. I help people with their business things. Or making sales and client interactions with engagement for success. And I have a background in theater. Oh, you do? You mean like triple espresso? No. Yeah. except like with a plot and not really music and sort of one-man shows at the Fringe Festival, stuff like that. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So what do you do, Glenn? Oh, I'm in purchasing. But I guess you have a sales funnel. Overall customer experience. Okay. Wow, I didn't know that was something people actually did. After years of events like that, and speaking at Rotary and honing my material and listening to Glenn after Glenn after Glenn speaking in tongues, I did bring in enough business to live on. And eventually I started going to bigger and bigger events, often with a keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce our keynote speaker today, straight from an event in Hong Kong. It's Daniel Roy! Raise your hand if you want to be 10% better at something in the next year. What if I told you you can be 10% better at that thing? What if I told you that you already have everything it takes to reach that goal? Would you want to hear about that? Yeah. Of course you would. Here's the truth. If you believe the world is against you, the world will be against you. But you can change your mind. Decide right now, today, that this, the world we're in, is the best of all possible worlds. Because it is. And it's just waiting for you to get what you want. All right, the 3 steps to lasting success. Number 1, visualize what you want. Your revenue increases, your business triples in size, and you are happy. You have to see it. Number 2, strategize for what you want. If you want to increase your market share by 16% by Q4, you have to figure out how to do that. If a golfer goes on the course only visualizing hitting eagles in every hole but never puts a tee in the ground, how successful is he going to be? Not very. You have to tee it. And number 3, prioritize what you want. Live it, eat it, breathe it. If you want to be positioned as a brand leader, you have to make it your personal mission to do so. You have to me it. Did you get that, folks? 3 steps. See it, tee it, and me it. As a special gift to you today, I'm going to give you a 15% discount on my 6th book, See It, Tee It, Me It. See me in the back of the room afterwards and I'll sign it for you. Just remember, this is the best of all possible worlds. Whatever you see, you can tee. And whatever you tee, you can me. Thank you. Thank you. And I sat there and I thought, what the actual fuck? How much does he get paid for that? I looked him up. He gets $15,000 every time he speaks, saying, see it, tee it, me it. I thought, I gotta try that. I mean, how hard can it be? You just wrap up some sort of obvious life message in some big roll of business references, give it some rhetorical punch, and collect a check. All I have to do is figure out what my message is. So I started going to events with speakers to see who got booked. Whatever longitude or latitude, when you're in solitude and quietude, you have to develop a magnitude of fortitude to have an attitude of gratitude. You wake up, you get dressed, you fight traffic, you get to work, you answer email, you take a coffee break, you talk with coworkers, you skip lunch, you work some more, you finish the day, you pick up the kids, you make dinner, you try to read, and then you crash. Where's the time for you? Hello. I know everything there is to know about Google. When we leave here today, you're going to know things about how to use Google that even Google doesn't know.
Good leadership is all about respect and discipline. Today I'm going to teach you the leadership secrets I learned while commanding a battalion in the U.S. Navy.
Oh my God, I have done nothing. And I don't know anything, nothing useful anyway. I mean, I suppose I could do something on leadership. I would just have to replace commanding a battalion in the Navy with directing actors at Park Square. But maybe. Or I could just sort of imitate what they do. You start with lots of energy. Come running onto the stage if you can. Get everybody to raise their hands after you ask them a question they can for sure say yes to. Then tell them that everything boils down to these three things, but don't tell them what the three things are. Just tell them that these three things will fundamentally change the way you do everything. Then tell them the three things and make sure they sound pithy, catchy, and rhymey. Then introduce a rhythmic, easy-to-say catchphrase. And repeat the rhythmic, easy-to-say catchphrase. And then launch into your first point. Suddenly start shouting! Say things that are obvious yet profound, and then pause. Go quiet. Say some more things about business and life, but in a quieter tone. To add meaning. Go silent. Walk 5 paces. Tell them a personal story that is only marginally true but close enough. Refer to prayer. And then suddenly start shouting again and use your body to show them you really feel it. Then tell them a little story about Steve Jobs. Repeat the rhythmic, easy-to-say catchphrase. And then connect everything to sports. Ignore the fact that market trends and economics are constantly changing. Just tell them that increasing their revenue by 50 million will be as easy as scoring a touchdown. Then take a break from all that and say some funny stuff. Make a silly face. Be funny, but do not be witty, ironic, political, body, or in any way offensive. Then refer to Mike in the audience who you just met 5 minutes before walking on stage. Share a smile with Mike. Shout your last big point! And then say something uncomfortably personal. Repeat the rhythmic, easy-to-say catchphrase and say it twice and louder and bow while receiving your applause and waving to certain people. I thought, how hard can it be? I just need to figure out what my content is. What's going to be my content? As soon as I figure out my content, I'm going to be in the easy money. My family will be secure for years, and there'll be enough left over for a boat. Just got to get the content right. So what's the content? Got to get the content. Okay, get the content. Turns out that coming up with good content is much harder than it looks. And it's content, mind you. It's not ideas, insights, or philosophies. It's content, like stuffing in a couch. I did manage to come up with some content about things like imagination, persuasion, and communication, all developed like a research paper and delivered like a game show host. Not really sure anybody ever knew what I was talking about, but they liked the energy. And after a lot of trial and error, I came up with the content that I still use today, using narrative techniques for client engagement and winning cases in court. See, I have totally memed this content. I got better at networking. B2B. C-suite. Increasing your revenue. I was flying all over the country speaking to everybody from collection agents to health insurance companies to the county clerks of Nebraska. I might do a morning keynote for an international wealth management firm, and the next day I'd be talking to 35 Wisconsin teachers. My content was good, but I think I got a lot of these gigs because, well, I looked the part. So I tried to act the part to convince myself that I was the guy they were hiring. I'd walk through airports thinking, I like to wear suits. I think I'll buy 5 new expensive suits. I like to fly in planes and stay in fancy hotels, and I have strong opinions about fancy hotels. I like to carry a very important briefcase with very important papers and a very important look on my face. And I pause to look over the latest business thought leader's book, and I have a strong opinion about the latest business thought leader's book. I am happy corporate man, and I am doing just fine. Then I'd walk into the house, and the kids would approach me cautiously because they mainly viewed me as the guy with the gifts. But then we'd wrestle on the floor and nothing else would matter. My wife and I would attempt to get to know each other again. And I'd go down to the pool. Oh, I lived for that pool. As soon as I figured out how to clean it and get the chemicals right, I was down there every single day from May to October. I'd look out in the morning, and if I saw anything floating in there, I would get out the net and get it out. I would clean the skimmers twice a day, because if you let too much stuff accumulate in there, you're going to stress out the pumps and cause big damage. The pump pressure needs to be right. If it wasn't right, I would walk around agitated until it was. The pool needed to be flowing correctly. Everything needed to be flowing correctly. No glitches, no bubbles, nothing floating in the crystal clear water. I wanted to hear the hum of the pumps and feel the exact right pressure from the jets, and not see a speck of dirt or grass or leaves floating in the glassy surface. As soon as everything was right, then I could relax. Then it would be time to fly out again. This time to an event sponsored by an international food company in San Diego. I was one of about a dozen breakout speakers, and guess who was the morning keynote on the main stage? Ladies and gentlemen, straight from an event in Dubai, it's Danny Leroy! I can tell you the sky is blue, but it's not. It's bluish. Sometimes it's white. Sometimes it's gray. Sometimes it's a mixture of blue and white and gray and who knows what. So I could tell you the sky is blue, but I'd be wrong. You'd be right. We'd both be right, and that's the power. That's the power. What color is your sky? Don't just believe what people tell you it is. You can change it. Is it your business? Is it aligned with who you really are? If not, change the color of your sky. Is it your relationship? Is it bringing you fulfillment? Is it bringing you joy? If not, change the color of your sky. Is it you? Have you told yourself that you don't measure up? You can measure up. You can change the color of your sky. Now, you know what I believe. You've heard me say it before. It's all for the best. This is the best of all possible worlds. But that's only true if you believe it. And you have that power. Raise your hand. Raise it and believe. Believe you can achieve. You can change the color of your sky. And I sat there and I thought, how the hell does he do that? That stuff is so simple. Change the color of your sky? What does that even mean? Danny Leroy now had 12 books out, and his speaking fee was the same as a lot of people's annual salary. I would sit there and look for a way to hate it. But inevitably, I would drive home to the small resort where I lived, thinking, it's all for the best. This is the best of all possible worlds. Here's the view driving home in the summer. In-ground sprinkler systems. A Mercedes and a jet ski parked in a herringbone paver driveway. Sometimes I see one of my neighbors out mowing his lawn in his short-sleeved shirt tucked into his khaki shorts. I didn't know many of these neighbors. That's partly because I'm a misanthrope. And it's partly because there just wasn't that much to talk about with them. When we had people over, which was not very often, we'd say, get on 94 West, drive for 6 to 8 days, and we'll see you when you get there. So we didn't have people over that much. My wife and I did have a pool party once. We were both involved in shows at the time, so we expected a lot of people. we told everybody to come over between 12 and 5, and we got beer and wine, we got vodka, gin, we inflated all the pool toys, we cleaned the palace, and then we waited for people to arrive. And an hour passed. And another hour passed. And another. And 5 o'clock came and went, and no one showed up. This caused some reflection. Now, I resisted the urge to make it into some big, huge problem because, oh my God, it was a failed pool party. But it did seem to indicate that maybe there was a bigger problem. What were we trying to do here? Who were we trying to be? I was flying all over the country to make the money to have the things to be happy, but I wasn't happy, so I'd fly around the country to make the money to have the things. The American way. To say that this was putting stress on our marriage would be an understatement. But I'm going to go ahead and understate that here. There's a lot of things I'm just not going to talk about here. The short version is we tried to fix things by selling that Maple Grove house and buying a smaller one closer to the city. But that helped a little, but it didn't fix things. For 12 years, we've been putting our marriage through some of the biggest stresses. Kids, moving, changing jobs. A few months after my 50th birthday, we just couldn't do it anymore. Be a good person, work hard, and one day you'll live your life in your nice house with your family too. I think I expected that story to unfold in front of me because I was under some sort of illusion that I deserved it. When it didn't work out that way, it felt like my life was ending. But I think I was just seeing reality for the first time. I moved out of the house. I left my kids and 1,000 memories in there. I knew I'd be seeing them again, but it wouldn't be every day. I'd been traveling for years, but this was different. This felt like tearing off a limb. It reminded me of that scene in that movie 127 Hours when James Franco has to decide whether to stay stuck between two rocks or cut his own arm off with a dull knife. He's exhausted, he's delirious, and he does not want to cut his own arm off, but he does it. That movie's based on a true story. A guy really did that. His name is Aaron Ralston. And he had to decide whether to stay stuck and probably die or sever part of himself that he would never recover. And he chose that. You know what Aaron Ralston does nowadays? Motivational speeches. So I sort of cut my own arm off. I moved into a nearby apartment. It was cheap. One of those lovely 70s apartment complexes. 3 stories, all brick, every unit exactly the same. And there's always somebody named Ashley in the front office. There is an available unit, follow me. So I followed Ashley, but I had just cut my arm off. I wasn't really paying attention. The arm severing pain was still surging through me, and it was hard enough not to fall into a ball on the floor, let alone pay attention to where the laundry room was. We walked into the building with the available unit, and there was a rank stench in the entryway. Old carpet mixed with smoke, mixed with somebody currently boiling cabbage. We walked into the apartment, and I looked around solemnly like I was assessing my crypt. Who cares, I thought. I looked at it for 10 seconds, hated it, and said, I'll take it. Came back the next week to get the keys and sign the lease. Ashley led me back in to the building, past the rank stench, and into the apartment. And that's when I noticed a detail I had missed the other time. About 30 yards from the apartment, there was a train track. Oh, the trains usually just run at night. I thought I'll get used to it. I mean, what choice do I have? I've signed a lease. I brought over some pots and pans, a lamp, a clock radio, all the TV trays, and the armchair nobody liked. I got some twin mattresses for the kids when they'd be visiting, and I moved in. That train ran every 2 hours all night long. A freight train, a long freight train. After the third night of sleep that can only be described as being awake, I thought, I gotta find another place to sleep. There was only one place, the bathroom. With the doors shut, the train sound was just distant enough that you could ignore it. So I got one of the kids' twin mattresses and brought it into the bathroom and wedged it between the bathtub and the wall of the toilet, put a lamp on the toilet, put the clock radio on the edge of the bed, and got some blankets and sheets, and the whole thing looked like a little nest. I shut the door, turned off the light, and climbed in. Well, it looks like I changed the color of my sky. I wonder if I have the fortitude to develop an attitude of gratitude. Images came into my mind, first as a trickle and then as a flood. I saw my oldest boy catch his first fish when he was only 4. I saw both kids playing in the sprinkler in the backyard. I saw Christmas morning after Christmas morning every time like it was the first. I saw us putting together the IKEA crib and our excitement that the baby would be home soon. I saw my oldest holding my youngest in his arms. I saw both kids ride their bikes without training wheels. I saw them on their first day of school. I saw us leaning down to examine a bug and try to determine its name. I saw us splashing in a pool in a hotel on vacation. I saw us all pose for a family portrait, trying to hold our smiles for the camera. I saw my wife and I bandaging their cuts and caring for their sicknesses. I saw our wedding day. I saw our excitement for that first house, our hope for the second house, our relief for the third house. I saw the night we met, all passion and curiosity. I had had these experiences. They were in me now. And they would be no matter where I was. I relaxed. And there in that nowhere on the bathroom floor, I felt warm and safe and secure. I had no idea what was next, but I felt like I was home. I slept well that night. Images came into my mind, first as a trickle and then as a flood. I saw my oldest boy catch his first fish when he was only 4. I saw both kids playing in the sprinkler in the backyard. I saw Christmas morning after Christmas morning every time like it was the first. I saw us putting together the IKEA crib and our excitement knowing the baby would be home soon. I saw my oldest holding my youngest in his arms. I saw both kids riding their bikes without training wheels. I saw them on their first days of school. I saw us leaning down to examine a bug and try to figure out what the name was. I saw us splashing in a hotel pool on vacation. I saw us posed for a family portrait, trying to hold our smiles for the camera. I saw my wife and I bandaging their cuts and caring for their sicknesses. I saw our wedding day. I saw our excitement for the first house, our hope for the second house, our relief for the third house. I saw the night we met, all passion and curiosity. I had had these experiences. They were in me now. And they would be no matter where I was. I relaxed. And there, in that nowhere on the bathroom floor, I felt warm and safe and secure. I didn't know what was next, but I felt like I was home. I slept well that night.